What's happening, everyone? Time for some more malt reviews. As usual, that's Mikey and I'm Narby.
What's up, guys?
I'm gonna do very famous Macallan, and this will be our second fine and rare review. The finest and rarest that Macallan has to offer. No special decanter, no Lalique special decanter, no fancy box really, just the plain old bottle. This is Macallan Fine and Rare 1976, bottled at 45.5% ABV, and it was bottled in 2006.
Yes, sir.
Makes it a 29-year-old. So without further ado, we're gonna finish the last of this bottle.
This is really cool because all Fine and Rares, they're hand bottled at Macallan by Macallan personnel. And they handwrite the ABV, the size, and the age. And I believe there's 2 or 3 different single cask 1976s. They're all single cask for the 1976 vintage. And I haven't had the other ones, but...
Which cask was this?
This was cask 11354.
All right.
But I do know this one is pretty good.
All right, we're just finishing the bottle here. Getting every little last drop. And
when this came out in around 2006, I forget, how much was this about?
In 2006, I believe it was $3,000 US dollars.
Okay.
And now anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 back in 2006. Now it sells for, there's a couple shops that have it for around 11,000.
11,000.
Yeah, so basically an $11,000 bottle. So we have obviously incredible expectations. So, all right, without further ado. The color is beautiful Macallan color like you would expect from a nice sherried whiskey, a nice mahogany color.
Oh, and of course, the Fine and Rares are either single cask sherry or bourbon. This is, of course, matured in only the finest sherry wood. But absolutely, yeah, a nice light amber.
And again,
mahogany, beautiful.
The very best barley and the very finest cask Macallan has to offer for these kind of bottlings. So again, our expectations are incredibly high on the nose. It's very silky, it's very velvety. It's mellowed out. It seems that 45.5, and that's at cask strength 45.5, which is different where if you would water it down to 45.5, it just seems to be that perfect strength, so silky and velvety.
Yeah, just like what Narby said is such a good point, because when you have a natural cask strength at around even 40% for older whiskeys, but 40, 45, 46% is so different than adding distilled water to a higher cask strength. And you can totally tell on the nose as well as the palate that it really is cask strength. You can tell right away. It hasn't been diluted at all.
And this is more of a complex sherried whiskey. It's not just heavy rum raisin and dark chocolate and caramel and vanilla. It's got some beautiful fruits like pears and lemon
and one thing I notice is, along with the fruits, I notice I've had very old, not necessarily aged, but old like 1950s, 1960s Macallans before. This has that old style. I almost call it, it sounds weird, but like old moldy sherry. Like the sherry casks have been stored underground in a very like dark, damp, dank warehouse, you know, out there in Scotland where it's very humid. And it has that old style moldy sherry that is a note by itself that once you experience that, it's totally unique, unlike anything else.
Yeah, what he's saying is, you know, I'm expecting it to be like that, but along with that, with the pear and peach and mango, and then there's citrus along, and then of course your classic rum raisins and dates and figs, chocolate and vanilla. Those are things that you're expecting, but then you add that. You know, I don't normally get like pears and mangoes with Macallan, and it just becomes so beautifully integrated like that. Not too woody, just ever such a light wood spice, but not too woody on the nose.
No, it's so true, because typically I would think of those lighter fruits and tropical fruits from like a bourbon cask, and that shows you that Macallan has absolute control over their sherry casks, that they can make it like a Macallan 25, you know, or just like pure dessert, you know, dried fruit, toffee, fig, chocolate if they want, but then they can put a little bit of that in there and combine with beautiful, juicy, luscious, fresh, vibrant fruits as well.
Yeah, and you would also think that when they're bottling it as the fine and rare, it's the very best cask, whatever came out to be the best, Absolutely. You know. So, you know, I mean, obviously they're tasting it before they're bottling it, and they know what's really high quality.
Oh yeah.
And they're bottling it up. Yeah, I guess it's what you expect with the regular spices and the rum raisins and the dates and the chocolate, and then you add that extreme silky velvetyness, and even I haven't even had it on the palate yet, but just even on the nose, you could just tell it's so mellowed out and aged perfectly with the velvetyness, and you add the apples, the pears, even a little grapefruits, a little citrus, a mango.
Yeah,
it's so unique.
Such a fruit orchard.
Yeah, very, very, very fruity and balanced really, really well. Not overly sherried whatsoever. On the palate?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah, it's complex. It's ever changing.
It's very luscious on the palate. My favorite part is it's absolutely not too drying. It's actually very juicy. Some lemon peel, some orange peel, some dark chocolate. Not too sweet, yet pretty fruity. Some apple skin. A little mango, a little peach. Some rich dark raisin, and some caramel, along with some light spice. And then towards the finish now, as it sat on the palate, in the back of the palate, lightly woody, but just perfectly integrated all together. And it's the best way for me to describe it.
Yeah, it's just that's always a concern after the first fine and rare we had, and a lot of very strong, heavily sherried whiskeys, is it could be too dry, and it could have too much of that wood spice. But this is just the exact perfect amount. You want a little bit of that wood spice, just a little bit, you know, let you know the characteristics of the cask it was in, and it's just the right amount. It's in the background. It's beautiful at the beginning. It's beautiful all the way to the end. It doesn't get too drying at all. It's just a tiny little bit dry. So, you know, clear out your mouth, make you want a little bit more. And just like Narby said, I mean, pretty much every possible fruit you could think of, whole bunch of baking spices, Christmas spices, a little bit of that, the natural Macallan sherry, toffee, fig, chocolate, dates, everything.
Yeah, and I'd say, again, like the two things, again, both on the palate and on the nose, that make this unique and stand out, that makes it a little bit more special than, let's say, your regular high-end whiskey that you'd be able to regularly purchase, is again the fact that it's so velvety and so smooth and mellowed out, and the fact that you're adding some of those bourbony fruits, yet it's coming from a sherry cask. So I'm I'm not sure. I haven't read into it if this is a first fill sherry, but it does not taste like a first fill sherry to me.
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt that for 29 years in first fill sherry, yeah. It's not overly rich, and it's, you know, able to be a lot more fruity because of that. So really, really good. The finish is endless. It keeps going in your mouth, just fully there still, and it's probably been over a minute, and you know, nothing's disappeared. But I'm gonna take one more sip. I'm not gonna add any water to this. I'm gonna take one more sip before we conclude and give it a score.
The beauty of this whiskey is it's so complex, yet it doesn't take forever to open up, and it doesn't take forever to reveal all of its contents. It's complex, but it's so polished at the very beginning, and it keeps changing, but because it comes back to the same things, it doesn't hide anything from you. A lot of whiskeys I know people like a challenge. You know, they like to find stuff in there that nobody else can find, their friends can't find. But I like both, but sometimes I like it just to be there from the beginning, simple, but at the same time, just mind-blowing, and that's what this is.
I'm really enjoying the level of spiciness it offers. It's so mellow, like I said before, and then when that spice kicks in with that mellow and silkiness, it just plays together really, really well. Really, really delicious, even tastier on a second sip, as it usually a whiskey would be. Really, really good. Do you have anything else to... Nice dark chocolate finish too.
It's just, it's so silky and velvety. Like it's even older than 29 years. It's not weak at all. It's powerful. It's 45.5%, but it's powerful like a cask strength. And none of this like 43% diluted stuff. And it's just so complex and so delicious.
How do you score this?
I give it 97.
For me, it's a 94. Again, the reason why this is a 94 for me is, you know, it's a very special whiskey, but I've been spoiled. I've had some other incredible whiskeys, some of them that you guys have seen in our reviews. So based on comparing it to some of the other whiskeys that I've tried, it's a 94 for me. An incredible whiskey. A very expensive whiskey. I'm not sure if it's worth the money, but nevertheless, it's very, very special. All right, you guys, we'll see you soon for another malt review. Cheers.